Okay, here's step 2 to the Basslines assignment. So we loaded our synthesizer. I did forget to do one thing, and that's create 4 note tracks. So let's do that real quick. So just 2-finger tap on Heisenberg, go to create note track, and you're going to do that until you have 4 of them. And these 4 are going to correspond with your 4 chord progressions up above. And just like before, they all kind of are on when you create them, and you don't want to have all of them on at once, because then once you program everything, it's all going to play at the same time. It's going to be a big mess, right? So let's go ahead and turn off all the bottom 3, and we'll just have our top bass note, and then we're also going to just be working with our top chord progression for this first one. So the first bass line that you need to create is just using roots, 1 bar per note for that 1 5 6 4 progression. Piece of cake, right? So let's open that up real quick and just see again what that chord progression was. So it's C, G, A, and then F. Okay, so we're just grabbing those bottom notes out of there, right? The other thing I want to point out is that this one starts on C4. So if we're going to do our bass line, we want to keep our bass line below, right? So I'm just going to do the bass line. Will be on the next note below that, so that'll be C3. Okay, and then all the rest of these will stay proportionally 1 octave below is what we call that. So let's close this up, create a new note track on this bass line, stretch it out, open it up, stretch out this loop thing, and then go over here and make sure that's set to bar again. And there's our C4 note, so that's our first note in the chord, but we want to go down to C3 for our bass. Okay, so that's our first note on the bass. And then the next one was G, so hop up right here. And again, it won't say the name of it until you enter it, so make sure when you enter it in, if you hover the mouse, it should say G, right? And then A is just 2 steps up from that G. And then we got an F, which will be right there. Okay, so that's the first bass line. Piece of cake, roots of the chords. All right, let's close that up. Let's go to the next one. Create the track. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, turn that off. We're going to build a bass line for this second one now. So I'm going to turn on our second line there. And the chords in this, again, are A minor, C major, E minor, and then D major. Okay, so A, C, E, D, if you can remember that. And then let's go back to the assignment here. So for the second one, you're going to use roots and some rhythmic variation. So still just the roots of the chord, but I want you to try and mess around with some rhythm. So to do that, you need to be in something different than a bar, right? So let's, I'm going to do 1/8. That'll give me lots of different places I can put these notes. But still, for the first measure, and we want to be just below C3, this is the A right here. So you can only, ooh, that's really low. Maybe not quite that low. Let's go to this A right here. Yeah, that sounds better. Okay, so still you can only use A for this whole first bar, right? So that's some rhythmic variation. It's still just the same note, but I've just got it playing at some different times, right? So the next one is C, and you'll want to make sure that you land on beat 1, I think is a good idea. You don't always have to. These aren't hard and fast rules, but it's just a good idea. And then after C we had E. That's way up here. And you do your own rhythms. You don't need to copy my rhythms here. And space is a good part of this. And then D is our last one. Okay, so just roots with some rhythmic variation. Piece of cake. Well, let's do the next one. So here's where you're writing bass lines for your own chord progression. So this is going to totally depend on what your notes for your chord progression are. I'm going to open up mine just so we can see what mine is. Mine is an F chord, and then a G chord, and then a C chord, and then a G sharp chord. Okay, so F, G, C, G sharp. All right. So we'll close that up. Yours is going to be different, right? I copy my chord progressions. Yours will be better than mine. Okay, so we're going to pull it out, and the rules for this bass line are roots and fifths and some rhythmic variation. So we got roots and fifths and rhythmic variation. Okay, so you may need to look at your chords and just like double check not just the bottom note, but also the top note. That's the fifth, right? So we got that one and that one. Okay, so F, G, C, G sharp. I'm saying that so I can remember. So let's start with F, and I'm going to do some rhythmic variations. I'm just going to play it twice, and then my top note from this chord is a C. Okay, and the next chord is a G. So you can see the very first thing that I always do is just play a root. Okay, and then from there, right there, come up and grab the fifth, come back down to the root, maybe the fifth again. Oh, it's up to you. But the first beat of each bar should line up right with your chord, right? So my next chord was a C. This time, so my note is a G for the fifth, but I'm going to grab it down below just to kind of keep my bass line more compact. And I'm moving fast because I know where these are at. I've done this a lot. You guys are going to need to move slower and be a little bit more careful. And then the final chord is a G sharp. So that's right here. And I'm going to again do the same kind of thing where I grab the fifth down below. Where's my D sharp is right there. And the reason why I chose that is you can see it'll kind of lead back into my starting point again. And let's play this real quick just so you can hear what it sounds like. Getting a little. Cool. And you may not be wowed just yet, but imagine adding some drums to that. Right? Hopefully you can hear all those elements as you're building the song. So for your final bass line, and I'm not going to do this one, I'm going to let you guys do this on your own, but program some bass line for your second original chord progression using roots, fifths, and some passing tones. So again, those passing tones, I'm going to go back to my bass line that I just wrote. Passing tones, once you get roots and fifths in, might be good to just like start with roots and fifths and then say, okay, I'm going to take out that root and I'm going to put a passing tone. Any one in between here, right? So you can choose that one. Now you got a passing tone in between that root and fifth, and it'll help connect those a little bit better, right? Take out that and do a passing tone back down, right? And as long as when you do passing tones, start with roots and fifths, because then you're going to have a real solid sounding bass line. And then when you start putting these in between notes in, they're going to lead you to the right places at the right times automatically, right? So that's a good way to use passing tones. So hopefully that's a good quick 1-2 on bass lines. I look forward to hearing what you guys come up with.